Assalamu alaikum, dear viewers. Welcome back after the short break. Okay, MOLANA, you were explaining.
Yes, I was. What I was saying was that the system that they had would ensure that there is no stampede. Number one, every Muslim was given a specific time when the Hajj was supposed to be, asked to go on for the stoning of the Satan.
Okay.
Number two, nobody would be allowed to stop in the way, sit in the way, or change the lanes, for example.
Okay.
And that particular route would lead to one of the 5 floors,
Okay.
and the exit point would be different.
Okay.
Now, our brothers, they ask that the people are supposed to know. Even the system was that even if you don't know the language, even if you come from a different background or whatever, you were not allowed to do it because the system was there.
Okay.
Even if you wanted to do something else, even if you wanted to change the floor, even if you wanted to change your route to a different lane, you couldn't do that. So that was the reason why 3 million performed the Hajj and nothing happened. And if that system was intact, nothing would have happened even if you had 6 million Hujjaj.
All right.
But why did it happen? Well, we have lots of versions. One of them say that there was a Saudi prince,
Yeah.
the son of the king of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
He came and he blocked 2 lanes leading up to Mina,
Yeah.
leading up to Jamarat. And now you have to understand that once I wish they had played the picture over there. Once you understand that Jamarat, you come close to Jamarat. There it is. You see, these are the tents of Mina.
Yeah.
And this track that you see, the road that you see outside, it leads to Jamarat. So you cannot, and the gates that you see, the yellow ones, are the gates of the tents. And these are the whites are these are the tents. So the gates were shut, and they will only be opened until when the specific time comes. So they cannot, the Hujjaj cannot come out in the streets before their time. So that's the picture of the tent. And once they go up to Jamarat, and I'd like them to play the picture of Jamarat as well, they would understand that each of the road leads, when it leads up to Jamarat, they all join and they come into kind of like a bottleneck.
Yeah.
So that's the place where lots of people gather around, coming from different lanes.
Yeah.
And that's the place.
There
you go.
Yeah.
Now you see Jamarat. Now these are the floors. So each path is going to a different route.
Yeah.
And coming to this place, and if you block 2 of the paths,
Yeah.
that's like not giving landing rights to an airplane that has run out of petrol.
Yeah.
Somebody is sitting there in the control tower and who doesn't give the authority to land for a plane that has run out of petrol. That's almost like that. If you can see the picture, now if you block one of those lanes, what would happen? A disaster. I've been told, and like lots of
these are totally packed. I mean,
they're totally
where
packed.
would these people go if suddenly even one of these
That's right.
routes were blocked? And what they said was that two routes were blocked, and they actually named that there was a route 223 and a route 204. Both these routes at the junction were blocked, and these are we're trying to explain the reasons what would happen. I mean, if these routes were blocked, like MOLANA Sahib is quite rightly saying, that if these routes were blocked, what do you expect the people to go? Where would they go?
Exactly. Now, one of the versions says that that's a version that the Saudi prince came and he blocked it. So I mean, and that's really sad if it did happen. Now, there's another version from the Saudi Arabia. The Saudi government says that it was the Iranians who were responsible for it. They sat in the way. Well,
Right.
if you've seen the pictures, I don't see if even one person, one of the Hajis, could sit down in a place like that.
Exactly.
It's impossible to sit down there.
Possible, yeah.
Because people are moving. How can you sit down? I mean, even if you say that the Iranians caused it, well, everybody knows that they're not in really good terms with Iran at the moment.
Yeah.
So next, after a few years, you could say that the United Kingdom was against Saudi Arabia and they planned it, or United States planned it, or Pakistan did it, or some other country. Well, I would have blamed Iran if Hajj was in Iran.
Yeah.
Well, Hajj is performed on the land of Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
And the government over there needs to be held accountable for the well-being of the Hujjaj. It's simple as that. Who are we going to blame?
On the news, they say that the Saudi government takes pride in that they take care of the Hajis every year when they come to this pilgrimage,
Yes,
and it's high on the agenda. Now, I mean, I don't know if you were watching, there was on BBC News yesterday, early on in the morning, there was an advisor called in and he normally advises Hajj and Umrah groups, and he were asked what were the reasons behind that, and he said that this year he had his brother and his father go there, and he spoke to them on the phone, and what he said, the people who were there witnessed the fact that these junctions were closed, and he said that there was high official people and the king's family, and they decided to come early and storm the Shaitan privately. So again, coming back to the point that, you know, this version is that they closed the two routes, and therefore people started building up while this was happening privately, and all those people were starting, I mean, they didn't know the routes were you know, blocked, and then more and more people gathering, and what do you expect is going to happen? And this is where the stampede ended up happening and people crushed. Now, you know, it's astonishing that, okay, even if we take this version for a moment, that, you know, these police have it's so important to even understand that one route is blocked, where the Hajis are going to go. Two routes have been blocked, and the police couldn't handle that. They was inexperienced. Why would they even do that in the first place? I mean, there's so many level of questions here that, you know, why is it them and hers? It should have been.
You see, well, after we take the call.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum
Can I
salam.
make a contribution?
Yes, you can, brother. What's your name and where you calling from?
Well, I'm just asking, isn't the whole of the Hajj site covered by CCTV? Have the Saudis released the CCTV footage? Because if they don't, then it actually
It's a very good question.
Very good point, because they
Very
have
good point,
they
mashallah.
have CCTV coverage, and even in the past years they've said that there's so many around the Mina area.
It's a very good
So
point, mashallah.
So what was your name, brother?
No, if they don't,
What was
if
your
they don't
name?
Release it, if they don't release it, that means that it is incriminating because they are hiding something, isn't it?
Yeah. I also read brother. I also read an article where they said that the media that normally covers this Hajj, they were not allowed to come to the incident point for 3 hours.
Right. Yes.
So again,
it does incriminate them.
it goes to show 3 hours they weren't allowed to go there, and you know, it goes to show that.
Yeah, you're right.
And investigation, I mean, obviously they're doing the investigation, but Molan, the thing is, what are Saudis saying? They are blaming the Hajis, they did not follow the instructions, and it's their fault.
You know,
can I just say, the first incident about the crane, again, who did they blame? They blamed the bad weather, and they blamed the Bin Laden corporation company, construction company, because they didn't follow something. So, okay, fair enough, but you know, are they ever going to say that, you know, maybe we've got something wrong here?
You know, the thing is, like the brother rightly said, that they haven't released any of the, you know, the footage of anything.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he didn't give his name.
Yeah.
I'll take another call. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Yes, brother. Your name and where you calling from?
Samir from Sheffield.
Sorry, what was your name?
Samir from Sheffield.
Yeah.
Samir from Sheffield.
Samir, okay. Oh, Samir, did you call earlier?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Just wanted to ask the MOLANA a question, please.
Yeah, of course.
And ask for his comment, you know.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. Just wanted to say, since Hajj is an international Muslim event, don't you think that a committee from all the international Muslims, they should come together and try to cooperate and help Saudis in order to supervise all the events that goes fairly, you know?
Of course. A very good point, and I think that point, as
That's
mentioned
right. True.
Many times before, it's a matter of whether they want to actually take that in consideration and hand it over. But you're very right, it is. It's not just one place.
I'm not trying to compare Hajj with football, I'm not in the position, but it's like having World Cup and you have all the referees, organizers, and football committees from one country. Of course, mistakes and biasness, you know, and fairness will go out, you know.
Yes. Especially
exactly.
when you have,
Of course, yeah. So I mean, thank you very much for that point. It's a very valid point.
And,
Thank you, brother.
Wa alaikum assalam. And I think that's a very good point. And if you consider, and even for the Saudis, for their own credibility, it would be advisable for them to have such this kind of a committee where people would be sitting there from all over the world. Like you have Iranians at the moment in press TV. I saw somebody saying that Iranian pilgrims have been targeted by the Saudis in the hospitals. They're not being looked after. I mean, they're not getting the proper medical care that they should be getting, and the I mean, it makes so much sense. It will take the onus away and the pressure away from the Saudi government that everybody is coming from all corners of the world, and let them all contribute. Let them all help and manage. Having said that, I mean, Saudi Arabia, it's so interesting that they have been changing their versions from day one. I mean, since at the time when the particular time when the incident occurred, they said it's the Hajis' fault. The Hajis have done it, and it is so sad that they start blaming the Hajis for their own death, and they have no respect for the Hajis. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even asks you to respect the animal that you sacrifice in Hajj. We're talking about Hajis, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that to Allah, the respect of a mu'min is far more than the respect for the Kaaba itself. And they said, the Hajis have died. That's because of not being disciplined. They're just undisciplined people. And that's the kind of attitude that they have throughout Hajj. Starting from the point one where you are at the airport. They look down upon you. If you talk to them, they might even just twist your arm. They'll be rude with you. They'll abuse you. They'll put you behind bars. They can do anything starting from the airport. And that's how they treat you.
And most of these people, I mean, this is one in a lifetime opportunity for them. They probably saved all their life to come to this particular place, and they're not coming home. And it's sad to know that. I mean, just to mention that one of my relatives in Pakistan, unfortunately, he was only 18, 19, and he came with his mother to the Hajj, and there was an incident there where she had asked him to get some water, and it was just yards away in going to get some water for her when the stampede happened, and she was literally calling and screaming out his name, and she got crushed. And and he's by himself in that country, and I had to actually bury her by himself. All the rest of the family is in Pakistan, and he can't seem to be getting these screams out of his head of her calling him while she was getting crushed. And this is just one individual's sadness. Think about all those families of all those 717 people who have died, their families back home. Where is the value of life? We just people. There's some attitude of people.
You're not talking about ordinary people. You're talking about Hujjaj. You're talking about Hajis. I mean, think about it. I mean, if you knew that there's one Haji, and you're lucky enough to go and offer him a drink of water, for example, wouldn't you do that? And you're talking about millions of Hajis, and that's how they're treated. I mean, they're treated literally like animals. I'll give you an example. Like in Mina one day when I was there, I saw one guy was a Pakistani poor guy, and it was the night between 11th and 12th, and he was still in Ihram, and he's sitting outside a tent. I asked him, I said, why are you in Ihram still? He said, I'm about to die, and he literally looked like he was about to die. I mean, he said, I'm diabetic, I'm a heart patient, I have high blood pressure, and I haven't had any meal since I've started from Arafah on the 9th, and this was the night between 11th and 12th. He said, I don't know, I'm completely lost, I don't know where my tent is, I don't know where my wife is, I'm completely lost. Now they have, a particular people to deal with this kind of a thing, and it's called lost and found. And I went to that place and I talked to those Saudis, and I said, in Arabic, I said, this poor Haji, he's lost his tent, and can you please direct him to and he looks around at me and he says, no, just take him away.
Well, okay,
so
take a call.
Wa
Assalamu alaikum.
alaikum salam. Can I make a quick point?
Brother, your name, please?
My name is Abid from Birmingham.
Abid from Birmingham. Okay. Yes, Abid, go ahead.
We've talked about how the Saudis are changing their version. I think that's an excellent point. But also, I think that this program highlighting, what's happened, shouldn't divert from the incident. We shouldn't talk about what we should do for the future in trying to set up a committee and so on. The Saudis basically have murdered, nearly 800 pilgrims. I believe that a prince was going by, so they had to blockade the roads, and that's why this happened. Now, I think the campaign from people like Hidayat TV and other kind of similar television stations should be that release the CCTV footage. That is what you should be constantly being airing and demanding. And I think if once the Muslims in Britain or elsewhere see this, they'll start asking questions that why is it the Saudis are not releasing the CCTV footage. So I think, from our part, we shouldn't just hold a majlis session, like a program, and just get it all over and done with. But I think they should be constantly bombarding the Saudis and the public with this idea that the CCTV footage has to be released, otherwise the Saudis will be called murderers.
I think this is the second time you're calling, right?
No.
Yes.
Yeah, Abid, thank you very much for your point. The thing is, Abid, also is obviously we're using this platform to create awareness in the first place. You're quite right. I mean,
you see how people feel.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
how people.
it's quite right in saying that. Obviously, let's get a campaign behind. But I think we're using this platform to try and create awareness for everybody, like people like Brother Abid and everybody who's watching, so they understand the basis of what's happening. So once we can use this platform, and please do ring in, and any information that you also want to share, please do. There's viewers watching everywhere, and then we can get together and we can try and do something about it. But you're quite right, we need to obviously get on the case. But it's important.
I just wanted to finish about that incident. And so I went to that place and I asked him, that this Haji is lost. And you know what he said? He said, take him away. I don't have time. Okay. And that's his job. He's sitting there to take the Hajis to if they're lost and everything. And I said, look at him. He hasn't had his meal. He's a sick man. He's going to die. He's ill. He might die. And you know what he said? He turned around and he says, Hajis die every day. So if he dies, I don't care. I mean, so what? I mean, Hajis die every now and then. So what if he dies? What difference is it going to make? That's the kind of attitude that they have towards Hajis. So if first you have to look at it, the attitude that the Saudis have towards the Hajis. Some of them, they take Hajj as a financial gain, to mint money. That's all. Others, they see it as a problem. Well, you have millions of people coming in, that's a problem, so we need to get over it, we need to find solutions, and that's it. But now they've come to a stage when they don't even care about solving the problem. They say, okay, if the Hajis are dying, let them die. Now, if they're going to put the blame on Iran, or if they're going to put the blame on the Hajis themselves, or they're going to put the blame anywhere else, they're saying that they shouldn't be held accountable. Nobody is going to take that story from their end. Well, they're the government, they're the people who are sitting there, they're managing the affairs on their land. And if they're just, either they're just saying that we are so incapable of handling the affairs, then let the others do it. That's what we're saying. We're not saying that, okay, make a committee or hold a committee, an inquiry committee and see what happened or something. I do respect what the brother said, and he's really right about, releasing the footage of it, and they will never release the footage because they know what they have done. They're hiding the facts. If you release the footage, the facts are going to come out.
Okay.
But having said that, I think the Saudis need to be blamed for the whole incident. If they're incapable of handling Hajj, let others handle it. Like I said in the beginning of the program, in Karbala, you have in Arba'in, you have roughly like about 30 million people who come from Ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam.
20 million, 25
and we're talking about 1.9 million people,
exactly.
Getting 2,000 of them being killed, exactly. and it keeps on happening every year. And Hajj is not anything new for the Arabs, for the Saudis. It's an event that's going to occur each and every year, but they're not just bothered about it.
No, but the thing is, a lot of the people don't know that that's not the biggest gathering in the world. They're not aware of Karbala. They're not aware about the 20 to 30 million people coming. No, that's happening. So this is why they tend to use this, saying 2 million, 2.5 million is a huge gathering.
Like I said, I mean, let's put the credit where it really goes. Once they built the building in Jamarat, with 5 floors and everything, we saw the results. So once they do it, it happens. But then why are they not following each and every year? I mean, if we say that they don't have the capability to do it, don't they have the resources for it? Saudi Arabia is a rich country. If they're not able to manage it properly, if they don't have the the real kind of know-how for it or the expertise for it, well, they can hire experts from all over the world. They've got the money for that. They've got the resources for that, and people would even want to do it voluntarily.
I mean, I just want to obviously there's a couple of questions to answer.
I'm talking about Muslims.
I want to bring in this brother that came on to BBC TV, and he said that, and he made a good point as well. He said, you're talking about 2 million people. He said, around 4 million people actually use the underground tubes in London. And sometimes when they shut the Oxford Street, they block that. There's no stampede there. It's well organized. Everybody knows what they're doing, and he made a very good point. So every level you look at, they can't justify that.
And also, I mean, when the people came to rescue these people, they were not trained. Saudi Arabia does not have an evacuation plan for this kind of an incident. If it occurs, if this happens, do they have a plan B? No. Do they have an evacuation plan? No. The people who come and see those injured people lying there, they do not even have even a simple kind of a training even for CPR. Or they're not even trained to even find out if the person lying over there is dead or alive. People have called me and they have told me that, I mean, I'm telling you about the eyewitness accounts. They said that, I mean, people would just come in and they would just hold one of the arms of a Haji and just hold it and just throw it like that and say, oh, Adam, Wamat, the Haji is dead. Mata Haji. So that's the kind of attitude. Instead of getting hold of the wrist and just seeing if the poor guy is dead or alive, and they threw the bodies of the Hujjaj. That's also one of the points, in a disrespectful way, on top of each other, as if they're like the dead bodies of animals.
So it's become normality as
yes, and then you had live people in amongst those dead bodies who had died because nobody would be there to find out if they're dead or alive. That's horrific.
It's a good point. If people are not experienced how to handle,
and then how many hospitals do they have in Mina? Just one hospital in Mina. Is that enough? Yes, that's it. Near Jamarat, there's just one. Is that enough? And then they say, okay, we couldn't send the ambulances. The ambulances were trying to come in, but they couldn't come because of the. Don't they know that ambulances cannot come? Don't they need to have a separate route? They do have a separate route under Jamarat. I've seen it myself. Then it's for the VIPs, for the princes and the kings. Where the palaces are, the road goes underneath and it goes under Jamarat.
Right.
And that's where they come and they stone the Satan and they leave, right? And this kind of a thing is even under all of Mina and Muzdalifah, and even back in, the special arrangements in Arafat and everything. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I mean, things can be done. If it can be done for the royal family, why not for the Hajis, at least for this kind of a situation? I mean, if they say they don't have the resources, nobody's going to believe that. They've got the money, they've got the resources, they've got everything. Why is it missing then? What's missing? Why are they not doing it? They're not doing enough. And just putting the blame on. Well, you had Ban Ki-moon from United Nations is saying that he's really sad. I think that's not enough. I think the whole world community needs to come together and ask the question, not just the Muslims. I mean, you're talking about humans. It's a huge, calamity. I mean, I'm talking about 2,000 people dying. And you're not even sure if this kind of a thing will not happen next year.
Yeah.
Even more could die next year.
I mean, coming back to some of these points, very good point that you made, MOLANA, for that. I mean, coming back to a point of Irfan, who said, these particular people, if they die, do you assign martyrdom for them?
So
that needs to answer. But a lot of the people's attitude is that, because it's become a norm now. So if some die, Haji, when he's died, he's martyred. So let's just forget about it. Okay, but the point is, that's the attitude. Let's not question about how it's happened and the procedure. Let's just say he's martyred and he's been, that's
the thing. They easily say, Haji Saab had gone for Hajj, and it was, the house of Allah, and the poor guy, Allah wanted this to happen. Allah did not want this to happen. Let me make myself clear. Allah doesn't want people to die like this,
So is he a martyr?
I don't think. I mean, let's not go into that. I mean, he's talking about martyrs. Are they martyrs, and will they be the same level as Imam Masumin alayhi salam? Na'uzubillah. Nobody can be at the same level as Imam Masumin alayhi salam. That's against our beliefs. And anybody dying on Hajj is a martyr. I don't think it's a martyr. If you die in the way of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, then that's when you become a martyr. So I mean, let's not just start using names for whenever people die as martyrs. So I mean, it's
Okay.
a different, yeah.
Okay.
So that's basically what it is. I mean, coming back to the point where Saudi Arabia, where they're putting the blames on a blame game, and they're saying the Iranians are doing it. No, the Hajis did it, and they kept on changing their versions. And sorry,
yeah, I was going to say it's interesting to see that they actually retaliated to the Iranians by saying it's Iranians' fault. They didn't say that straight away because Iranians actually, when they found out what had happened, and obviously it was 41 casualties at the time, the Iranian person, their spokesperson, said that it was mismanagement. And I think it was the retaliation of his comments that they started to say that it's the Iranians that are
and having said that, well, the Saudis have said 717 or something, 760 people have died.
717.
Yeah, Iranians and others are saying around roughly about 2,000 people have died.
Yeah.
If that's the figure, Iranians, say that 320 or 350 people from Iran have died, Hajis have died. So if obviously they've got the right figures because they're the Hajis, so they know how many people have died. Having said that, so that basically means if the Iranians did it themselves, the people who have suffered the most are the Iranians. I mean, like if you have 750 people dying in the stampede, and then you have 350 of them being Iranians, so that means 50% of them Iranians. So Iran has suffered the most, and then saying they're putting the blame on Iran that you have done it, that's implying that you have committed suicide. They have come forward. And then I had people calling me and saying that, like I said, people from Iran, they're in the hospitals, they're not being cared in the way that they should be cared, and Iran asked them to be sent to Iran. But the Saudi government is not allowing them, they're not permitting them to even travel from Saudi Arabia. And all they ask is that we just need one airplane for the injured people. And they say no, they have just completely refused. So
we've got a couple of minutes left.
Yeah, so basically, you can wrap it up as whatever you want to say. But the last thing that I want to say is the blame goes on directly on Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia needs to be held accountable for the lives, for the deaths of all these people, and I consider them to be murderers.
Okay, I mean, again, a lot's been said in this program, and I thank you for those viewers who have actually rung in as well. One of the questions by Brother Shabir was to say that learn the language when these people are coming from different countries. This is precisely what the Saudi government is saying, that blame the Hajis, it's their fault, they should follow the procedures. But if you understand, if whatever, like somebody mentioned about the football situation, whatever situation involves a gathering, the people who are housing it, the people who are organizing it, it's down to their responsibility to make sure that people come from wherever they're coming, that they understand their appropriate languages, that are the appropriate signs in their language, so they understand. There's people who are qualified, who can deal, who can speak to people in a humane way, and explain people that this is what you need to do. If an individual is going the wrong way, for example, if that's what they're saying, then there's a way to say that. But to not be really taking responsibility for this, expect that we take pride in having Hajis come every year, but we're going to wash our hands, we're not going to really put that effort into it, and we expect if they die, then they die. I mean, these are lives that we're talking about, and it's not the one-off incident. I gave you a couple of examples of previous incidents, and there's even further if you go back, and people can look at the history, and they can find out people are constantly dying. A lot of the times it's the stampedes that are happening, and it boils down to the same thing we said last week, the mismanagement. And somebody mentioned, why don't we get other countries involved? Why don't we? I mean, it's a common sense thing to do. If people are dying every year, if the Saudi government is not going to take responsibility and they're going to point fingers at everybody else other than themselves, and yet they're saying they're proud to house this, I think now the responsibility needs to go wider to other people so that it can happen. And for example, we gave 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. It's not it's not a lot. We're talking about 20, 25, 30 million people gather in one point in Karbala, and there's not been any deaths. So there's a difference. So stop using the volume of people there and take responsibility in what you need to do. You need to get educated police officials there who are trained into dealing with what people need and their needs there, to ensure that the trip goes where there's no deaths involved. And I think that's such an important point to make, and I'm glad people have taken this platform to view their points. Hopefully we've made that a bit more aware, and one of the brothers said it is vital that we need to campaign and do things and ask the government to release those CCTV footage. That would at least give us a good insight into that. So thank you very much, viewers, for watching this week, and inshallah we'll see you next week. Khuda Hafiz.